Hello, welcome from TMCC. This is Amber Burroughs and
Hi, I'm Jen Zarco. Thank you for joining us today.
Jen and I both work in the Recruitment and Access Center, and today we're going to be talking about navigating through the stumbling blocks, the college transition for seniors in high school.
Yeah, definitely. So follow along, and then we encourage you at the end, if you do have questions, you can definitely still email us those questions. So we will give you our contact information for that.
Wonderful. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and we're just going to go through a PowerPoint and give you guys some tips and tricks along the way. And hopefully we keep you as entertained as possible.
We're going to try.
We'll try. We'll attempt. Awesome. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the questions we get asked a lot when we do talk to students is, which is better? You know, you and I are TMCC. We are all about best fit. Although we do work for TMCC, we honestly believe in best fit for the students. So we go over the differences between a community college and a university, and not just the ones we have here locally, but just in general, letting your students know about the differences between a community college and university so that they can, in their mind, weigh out the options and see which one is the best fit for them. And so one of the biggest things that we talk about is, of course, the what they're going to be paying. So we talk about how, you know, a community college can be more cost effective. And specifically at TMCC, we talk about all the great amenities we have here, like free parking. So when we do talk to your students, rest assured that we do go over differences between the community college and a university in general.
Great. So we offer tons of different degree and certifications at TMCC. A lot of people don't know, but we have bachelor degree programs. So we have a few of those with TMCC, and we also have tons of associate's degrees, Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, and Associate of Applied Science, which is more of our career and technical education. And we'll go over that in a little bit. Please also note that we have programs that are part of the Educational Programs Inspiring the Community, EPIC programs. And these are programs that are non-credit, but sometimes they offer career certifications or just fun classes like hula hoop, like hula dancing, hoop dancing, and yes, line dancing. Definitely done that one. So, yeah, we have tons of fun classes at TMCC.
Absolutely. Another thing is that for students who don't want to go the traditional route of getting a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, we do have options at the community college level. So we do talk to them about our skill certificates, which are stackable. So some of our most popular skill certificates are to become a basic paramedic or an advanced paramedic. They can become a phlebotomist. They can start out in the early childhood education skill certificate. And then if they like it, they're like, okay, I can work with kids. I thought I couldn't, maybe I can. You know, they can keep going and attain that associate degree in early childhood education. So I think they have lots of options here, depending on how long they want to be in college, but also what do they want to do. So sometimes they don't know that, you know, we have skill certificate programs or certification programs in really interesting things. So they can get the skill certificate in those. Then if they want like maybe half of an associate, they want to spend a little less time in school, they can get a certificate of achievement in various areas. And then Associate of Applied Science, those are usually like in the technical fields. There are various fields that they can go into. When it says applied science, those are actually not transferable to a 4-year college. And they don't need to. Most of our students who attain an Associate of Applied Science just go into that workforce with whatever they majored in. So that is the difference. Those don't transfer, but of course they don't have to. They can start working right away. And then we have our traditional Associate of Arts or Associate of Science degrees that do transfer seamlessly here throughout NC. And then if they want to transfer them out of state, we recommend that they talk to whichever institution they're going to transfer to. Did you want to add anything to that, Amber?
No, I think that was perfect. Great explanation of our degrees. And along the same lines, Jen mentioned a few of them, right? With the career and technical, maybe phlebotomy, going into a bunch of different certification programs. We also have, you know, some of our more traditional programs like biology, chemistry, computer science, all kinds of stuff that you can do with TMCC. So we really try to focus in on everything from your social sciences to your hard sciences, career and technical education, anything that a student could want to study. We have it. We have over 160 different options that students can choose from for degree and certification options. So it's pretty neat. I think anything that you could possibly think to go into, we have something that will lead into that.
Totally. Totally. Sometimes the students get really creative, like, I want to be a YouTuber, or, I want to make
Yes.
mukbangs. And we're like, cool, you probably need a communications degree. You probably need, business degree. So really, we work with the students to find the best fit for them.
I totally agree.
Amber did go over our degrees, but we also have apprenticeship programs. I went over Associate of Applied Science options. And then when you go look through our degrees and programs, you will see that it'll say on the side whether it's an Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, Associate of Applied Science, a certificate, or a skill certificate. So they have so many options to choose from. They just have to read through, and every single one of our degrees has a description of what it is, what it will lead into, what types of jobs you can get with it. So it's really cool to go in and just read and do some career exploration. But here's a tidbit on the bottom. It says 60% of the jobs in Nevada will require a career certificate or a college degree. So it's no longer that they have to be, going to school for years. They can get really great paying jobs, some that I even want to do. I know Amber's like, oh, let's go into automotive. Let's do it. They're making great money. So some of these certification programs don't take long, and they can get a really good job right away.
Yeah, I fully agree. And just one thing to note about TMCC is that we do have 4 campuses right now, and we're building another campus. And so they do focus in on different things. We have the main campus up in Dandini that has tons of different programs there. It is our main campus. But for instance, the campus that I work at here is the Applied Technology Center campus. And that's where we house all of the career and technical education programs as far as like the auto, welding, diesel, things like that. And we also know that career and technical education sometimes means things like dental hygiene, things like dental assisting, programs like that, paramedic. So a lot of our health science degrees also fall under career and technical education. Perfect. Jen,
Perfect. One of my favorite programs on campus. I'm a little biased. I personally coordinate this program. So this program has actually been part of TMCC for the last 12 years, going on our 13th. So it's really exciting to still have it as an option for our students. So it's called the Success First program. And then under the program, we have a summer bridge program for our incoming college freshmen. So that means that our seniors that you're currently working with can apply for this program and then take it the summer after they graduate. So it's a first-year college experience program that offers your students 2 free college courses, all paid for. The books, the materials, the classes, the food they get during the summer, the 6-week program that they're there, they get fed, and it's all for free. They also get a scholarship component for successfully completing this program. So if they pass their courses in the summer and they stay above a 2.0, they will receive a scholarship component. And like I said, all the supplies and everything they will need. Then that first freshman year that they are on campus, they will receive success coaching. So one of us from the program will meet with them twice per semester or more if they would like to. We always welcome that. And we just follow their progress. We're there to literally help them through anything they might need to navigate. So if it's more support services, if they're struggling mentally, emotionally, if, they want to learn more about financial aid, or, they're going through a tough semester, we've all been there. We understand. We're there to guide them and help them make really good decisions on their own. We're trying to coach them to be independent and be able to make these decisions and navigate through college on their own. Okay. But of course, we know it takes mentoring for that. We've all had a mentor in our lives in some way or another. So the application every year opens on November 1st. And so it is first come, first serve, meaning that whoever applies first and has the requirements for the program done first gets accepted first, right? So they need to have test scores on file because we need to know which course to place them in over the summer. And they need to have their financial aid completed or submitted at least. And just as a side note, DACA and undocumented students are also welcome to apply, and they do qualify for the scholarship component as well. So it's a really great program to start your students off with. We tell the students, like, if you're definitely coming to TMCC, you want to be part of this program so that when the fall semester starts, you're an expert. You know where everything is, you know who to talk to at every department. You can get jobs on campus right away. So it's a really great program to kind of get involved and ready to go for college. And then there's no deadline. It's just whenever it's full, we close the application, and we only accept about 120 students each summer.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a wonderful program. We have great students in the summer bridge program every single year. So
Quality.
yes, Jen does an amazing job coordinating that. So you'll be
Oh,
working with
stop
Jen a lot.
it. Stop it.
Awesome. So another thing that we want to highlight for you guys, because you are working with students of all ages, usually, especially in the high school programs. And so we have Jumpstart dual credit, really important if you can take college classes while you earn your high school diploma, of course. And so a lot of students take advantage of this opportunity at TMCC. It's a great opportunity. You get credit for both high school and college. And of course, tuition discounts are available for certain classes and for specific populations that we have. And so there actually is a session fully dedicated to the Jumpstart dual credit area, and Karen Rubio will be running that. It's going to be wonderful. Make sure you check that out if you are interested in that. If you have students who are interested in that, super recommended, and you can get ahead. Basically, is the biggest part, is students are able to get ahead in their classes.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is one of the newest and most exciting programs that we have at TMCC, the Nevada Promise Scholarship. And I know, Amber, you're going to have to help me with this one. It's a robust program. It's a lot, but
it's a lot of steps.
Yeah, a lot of steps, but well worth it in the end. So the Nevada Promise Scholarship is a last dollar scholarship. So what this means is that a student will need to submit a FAFSA. Once it's processed, your student will know whether they are going to get a Pell Grant or if they only qualify for loans, right? But either way, their FAFSA is going to get processed. So if they receive any Pell funds, those funds will be applied to their tuition first. Secondly, if they qualify for the Millennium Scholarship, those funds will be applied to their tuition and fees second. And then if there's a remaining balance after those first two, then Nevada Promise will help to cover those mandatory fees and registration fees that the student still has to pay towards, right? So a lot of parents will say, well, we don't qualify for FAFSA, so we're not going to apply. And we hear that a lot, right? So what we tell them is, like, if your student's definitely coming to TMCC, and regardless if they're not, fill out the FAFSA anyway. You never know what you will be eligible for. But this Nevada Promise really does benefit students who are just not going to get the Pell Grant, right? Because they would still have that remaining balance because they wouldn't have Pell. And what if they don't qualify for Millennium? Well, they wouldn't have that second thing kicking in. So Nevada Promise would help to cover that, okay? Now, you might be asking, what if Pell and Millennium cover their whole tuition? That's great. Nevada Promise would not have to award them any Nevada Promise dollars, but they would still be considered a Nevada Promise scholar and will still receive the other benefits of the program, which are a mentor. So similar to Summer Bridge, someone to check in with them during the semester to make sure they're doing well. And one of the cool things about Nevada Promise is that the mentors are from anywhere, the campus, the community, organizations around town, our local government, or, law enforcement agencies, stuff like that. So we really have really awesome mentors signing up for this program. And so they get that benefit. They get priority registration every semester. So they get to register for classes before the general population gets to. So there are other benefits to this program besides receiving promised dollars, but they should definitely comply with the requirements for it. So to apply to this program, the application's already open, and it has a very strict deadline of October 31st. By midnight, they must have submitted an application to be considered a candidate for this first round, right? Once a student does not apply before October 31st, they can no longer apply. This is a state deadline, so they are not flexible. Okay, this is not a TMCC deadline. This is a state deadline, so it is very strict. Okay, and then like Amber mentioned, there are 10 requirements for this program. So the first thing is applying. Then after that, there's another step they have to complete by a certain date. If they do not, they get disqualified, and so on and so forth. So like Amber mentioned earlier, Nevada Promise is having their own workshop. So I highly recommend that you view their workshop, because Angela South, who's the coordinator for the program, is going to break down all 10 steps for you and what it means for students along the way. So just because they apply doesn't mean that they are going to be in the running for it forever. There are a lot of requirements along the way that they must comply with in order to make it to the finish line and receive Nevada Promise as a scholarship.
Definitely. And I think the other thing to note on here, we put class of 2021. This will apply to class of 2022 as well. The thing is that awarding and funding happens, on a yearly basis. This is not one of those ones that has continued funding guaranteed. So it happens on a yearly basis. So we like to make sure that we just tout what it is at this point in time. So some of these things could change, but it has remained pretty similar for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So this is just like Success First is Jen's baby. The Jacobs Presidential Scholars is mine. It is something that's been going on for the last 8, 9, 10 years, right around that range. Yeah, right around that range for sure. So it's pretty neat. This is more focused on if you have any parents out there, or if you are a counselor working with students who are returning, right? So I know sometimes counselors get to have students who come back and say hey to them and say, hey, I didn't go to college, but now I want to go to college. This is a perfect program for them. Students just have to be 20 years of age or older, unemployed or underemployed, meaning they could be working full-time actually, but just working at something like McDonald's. I always like to use that as an example, even though people at McDonald's are now making a lot of money. But so you get the picture on this.
Yeah. We'll upgrade to Chick-fil-A. It's okay. We'll do Chick-fil-A.
Hey, Chick-fil-A. Yes. Perfect. So yeah, definitely. This is a great program for any students that you see coming back, any parents that talk to you and say they want to come back to school. We offer the same kind of benefits of success coaching, scholarships, all kinds of stuff. So the same kind of things that Success First offers, but for adult learners. And it's not a bridge program. It's definitely more of a whole, just a year kind of program. So it's pretty neat. Yeah, I recommend it. And we're just going to kind of briefly go over the steps to enroll. I'm pretty sure if you're a high school counselor right now and you have been for any period of time, you know the steps to enroll, but we also want to touch on some stumbling blocks and just some kind of recommendations that we have for dates and deadlines.
Yeah, definitely. So we have 3 simple steps to enroll, but like Amber mentioned, in between, we have things that your seniors should be working on as a recommendation to make their lives easier. So I'll go through these, or we'll go through these actually separately, but number 1, apply for admission. Number 2, complete SOAR, which is our student orientation and registration. And then 3, registration and pay for classes.
Awesome. So the first step that Jen mentioned was apply for admission. And so the fall 2022, wow, that is difficult for me to say. The application is available now. So that's pretty great. We try to put out the application right about when the current fall semester starts. We try to put that out every single year for the upcoming year. And so we also say, you can select either the summer part for that. So you can select summer 2022, or you can select fall 2022. If you select summer 2022, your application actually does roll over to the fall 2022. But if you're not planning on coming to the summer, go ahead and select fall. It's fast, it's easy, no upfront fee. Honestly, it shouldn't take a student more than 10 minutes. And if it is, please holler at us, let us know what's going on. We're always here to help you in the recruitment department.
Totally. So they submit the application, they get a nice little blurb. letting them know that I believe it says 3 to 5 business days, they will be receiving an acceptance email or letter. They can choose like a postal mail or they can choose email. We personally recommend email because it's easier to keep. So if they receive a letter, they might set it down and forget about it, or it'll get tossed. So we know how that works. And so we recommend that they get it emailed, but we also know the excitement of opening up an admission letter and, it's saying, well, congratulations, you've been accepted. So we understand, but we definitely recommend the email. And why it's important to keep this letter or email is because it does come with a TMCC username, password that they're going to use for their student portals like My TMCC and Canvas. So they'll be needing those in the future. It comes with their new student ID for entry. And then, of course, they get a TMCC email, a college email that they will need to be checking. So this is why we let them know that they need to keep this letter or email for sure.
Definitely. And so the next step that Jen mentioned earlier was the orientation. And that's the new student orientation, or SOAR. It's really important, like she just said, to keep your username and password. That's how you access SOAR. That's how you complete your next step. And the website's there, tmcc.instructure.edu, but it's Canvas. That's what we use. The easiest way to access anything for TMCC, My TMCC, Canvas, your TMCC student email, is always going to be on our main TMCC website. Up at the top, it says login. There's a drop-down menu there. That is where I just send people all the time. You're starting out with us at TMCC, log into those. Okay, all 3 that you see up there at the top, log into those, and you won't go wrong. So
yeah, totally. And lastly, registering and paying for classes. But this is easier said than done. By now, they should have done orientation. By now, they should have submitted FAFSA, known what financial aid they have, applied for scholarships. Now we're in like April, May, June, July, hopefully not August, and they haven't submitted anything. But registration for new students starts in April of every year. And so we try to get them to do their SOAR way ahead of time. So we'll talk about that a little later. But they can view their class schedule and add classes on their My TMCC, and then they can also pay for their classes if they still have to pay a remainder or whatever. They can do that through their My TMCC as well. So, and they definitely get communications throughout the entire school year, prompting them to do everything they're supposed to do. So they get text messages, phone calls, and emails letting them know what they're supposed to be doing.
Definitely. And just highlighting that payment plans are available. A lot
Yes.
of times students see, the sticker price on there and say, uh-oh, like I can't afford $1,400 right now, and it's like, of course, I wouldn't be able to either. So there are payment plans available that you can put into either 4 payments or 3 payments, depending on when you set it up. And it just breaks it down into that a very much more like manageable thing to do. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then just on here, another tidbit for the register and pay for classes. The fall semester, like we mentioned, enrollment starts in April. You don't have to pay until August, and we'll go over some of those dates and deadlines in a little bit. And then the spring semester enrollment starts in November, and you don't pay until January.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
And we also have recommended steps for success. So I know there's only 3 steps steps to enroll, but we do have other recommended steps in between, like applying for financial aid. Like I said, even if they're DACA and documented, we have forms for them to fill out so that we know that, and we can help award them funds if available. And then taking a placement test. So a lot of students might not have done very well in the ACT or SAT. So we do offer the AccuPlacer at TMCC. Now they don't even have to have test scores, but they need to understand that they will be placed in higher credit courses for math and English if they do not have test scores to help place them into the regular 3 credit math or English. So for example, if they are going towards an associate of science, they will be taking math 126 plus a math 26 support class for a total of 6 credits if they don't have test scores to place them into a regular math 126 course. And then if they are going towards an associate of arts, then they will be taking the math 120 plus 20 support class. And that's a 5-credit math class if they don't have test scores to place them into the regular 120 math course. And then if they don't have qualifying scores to place them into English 101, then they will take a 5-credit English 100, which is the equivalent of English 101. So after they complete English 100, they will be eligible to take English 102.
So part of the recommended steps, Jen has mentioned this a couple times now, right? Apply for financial aid. Super important to apply for your FAFSA, even if you don't think that you'll get any money from it, because you could qualify for other things along with that. Now, I always like to emphasize with students, what does FAFSA stand for? And I do this for the purpose of saying that it's the free application for federal student aid. The emphasis on free, please, free, right? Free. So it goes towards, the thing is, sometimes students will go to FAFSA.com or something like that. And those websites, there's an opportunity for them to charge you at the end of it. And if you're getting charged, then you're on the wrong website. Go to FAFSA.gov. Remember, it's a government website. Go to that and it'll be free for you. You'll set up your FSA ID, like all this kind of stuff. I want to tune you in just to a couple things, because once again, we're having an awesome presentation separately from this on financial aid. Highly recommend going to that. And so they're going to highlight everything you need to know about financial aid. What you need to know from us is that the 2021-2022 FAFSA is for the spring and summer of 2022, but your 2022-2023 FAFSA is for the fall 2022, spring 2023, and summer 2023. Now,
what a mouthful, huh?
Whoa, like that being said, wow, just reading it. That being said, the biggest thing to note is if you have seniors right now, then they are going to be filling out the 2022-2023 FAFSA. Okay. So even though it might not seem whatever, just keep thinking it's a year ahead, right? So make sure that you're looking at that one and keep on top of it. Financial aid has some to-do list items, things like that. We're going to cover that in a little bit, but FAFSA is something you want to keep on top of.
And then on top of that, not just FAFSA, but we have separate scholarships that students should be on top of as well. So here at TMCC, we have the TMCC General Scholarship, so the Foundation Scholarship, and that opens every January 1st for current and future students. So your seniors are eligible to apply for this as well. And then they have a strict deadline of March 1st. So they have the priority deadline of March 1st. And so it doesn't give them a lot of time, but again, they get the communications for this. It's a general application. So basically it asks them general information, about their studies, about what they want to pursue, maybe a little bit about their personal life, why do they need the scholarship. And then this scholarship is really cool because it helps match you to other scholarships that you are eligible for, depending on your answers. So we do tell our students to be very mindful, as they should be anyway, if they're filling out any scholarship application or anything like that, be very mindful of their answers and not just give one sentence because I'm poor. We know, we're all there. We know that.
Struggle's real.
Right. The struggle's very real. We know that. However, please let us know a little more. You know, my mom's a single mom with 5 kids, or, you know, my parents work really hard and, you know, my only job's to go to school and I can't work and whatever. Let us know what the situation is. And we always tell students to be very mindful when filling out these applications because it could really pay off. You know, we can match them to other scholarships. Then, of course, we have the Nevada Promise Scholarship, which we talked about earlier, so they can apply for that. And that has a deadline, of course. The TMCC Adelante Scholarship for our students who are undocumented or DACA. So there's a separate form on the financial aid website that they can apply to for that one. And then our financial aid office is really great about already vetting other scholarships, outside scholarships for us. So they make sure they're legit and they make sure that students who typically apply do get awarded. So there's a bunch on there and they go by deadline, which I really like. It lets you know when the deadline is and how long you have to apply for it. So I really recommend students checking out that scholarship board.
Awesome. Perfect. And the other recommended step that we put on there was to take the placement test if needed. Okay, so we say if needed because Jen went over. There's actually another slide too that we'll go over that'll show you the math requirements and such, but it's not always needed, but we do recommend it, you know, because you can test a little bit higher, especially say you're good at math or you're good at English. I mean, why not try to test into the higher level class so you aren't taking as many credits, which is more money, right? More money is more credits. So yeah. So testing is not required. The test scores are used to determine placement. We accept ACT, SAT, or AccuPlacer. The biggest part about that is to make sure that students send their ACT or SAT scores to our institution. If we don't have them on record with us, then even if they have the scores, we can't help to place them. It has to be in our system. And if you are planning on taking the AccuPlacer, we do recommend that you study before you take it, just like you would for any other large exam. And you can schedule an AccuPlacer appointment online. And we also have walk-in hours as well for the testing center.
Yeah, perfect. So if your students, you know, you meet with them and you're like, oh man, they're so much brighter taking their courses than they are what is reflected on their test scores, like ACT or SAT. We get it. I was there.
I get that.
Yeah. Terrible at test taking, but my grades were really good. So at TMCC, that's actually a good thing. The students can use their GPA and their class grades to get ahead, so or get placed into their math and English. So I'll go over that. So for English, there's a few options here. So if they have a cumulative unweighted 3.0 or better, they can go into English 101 regardless if their test scores place them lower than that. So we'll take the highest of everything offered for the student, right? So if they come in with that cumulative 3.0 or better unweighted, they will have permission to enroll into English 101, or they have to have a B average in senior English class in high school, or they have an AP English course grade of B or higher. So they have options for the English.
Okay, so those are new. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm reading it right now. I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
That's new.
Yeah. So they have plenty of options there. However, they need to make sure that we get those transcripts, not because they tell us that they have the B or better. We believe them, but we need to have the proof, and they need to have official transcripts, you know, with our admissions and records office. And then now for the math. So for the math, they have to have that same GPA. So unweighted cumulative 3.0 or better, and must have a B or better in second semester of Algebra 2, specifically Algebra 2. If they do, they can go straight into Math 120 or Math 126, depending on their majors.
Definitely. All right. So this is something that Jen touched on earlier. If you have no test scores or high school GPA, that's not a problem. And I thought actually, Jen, I thought you did a great job about explaining these, that, you know, yeah, for sure, that which classes you would go into. Are you going into sciences and maths? Then you're looking at like the Math 126. Are you going into more of your social science area? Things like that, Math 120. And there's also, of course, the English 100 class with it's the equivalent of the English 101 class because it has support added to it. The only other thing I want to mention for this is that if you're going into a career and technical area, sometimes for some of the certifications or some of the different degrees, we embed that into what we do. So for instance, if you look at auto, right, you're looking at an auto ASC certification, we're actually embedding your math into some of the auto courses. We're embedding your human relations requirement into some of the auto courses. So I want you to know too, that if you're doing career and technical education, sometimes it's not even required because it's not a class that you would be taking. So so we definitely, you need to pay attention to that. Students need to understand what they're going into, and that's why the SOAR orientation is very important, and also just talking with advisors as well.
Definitely. So like I mentioned earlier, we do need official transcripts. You can't just print out, the students can't just print out their own transcripts or anything like that. We do need official copies. And this is where you can send them to. That's our address at the school. Is it Scribe or Scribe for Washoe County? The students order their own transcripts through that platform, and it already automatically downloads Truckee Meadows Community College information. So it's easy for them to just select that as a college, and then we will get them on our end to get posted.
Definitely. All right, so these are really important. Jen and I kind of compiled this list of recommended dates and deadlines. Some of them are actually like required dates or deadlines, but then some of them are kind of our recommendations. So October 1st is actually when the FAFSA application opens up for the fall 2022 applicants. Okay, so that's something just to note. December 31st is when we recommend, now this is just us working as recruiters. We've worked with students for a bunch of years now at TMCC. So we recommend that students apply for admission with TMCC by December 31st. The reason being that it's going to help them to be in line to do their SOAR, to be in line to make sure that they're doing well with Nevada Promise, that they're in line for their FAFSA to match up, all of these things, right? So, and then also March 31st is when we recommend that they have their AccuPlacer or their ACT, SAT completed. That way, all of those scores are in the system before they do their orientation. So during orientation on the second part, they start selecting classes. And so it's really important that they have the test scores so they're not selecting classes that don't match up because we just don't have their scores in the system, you know? So super important if they could get that done by them. That's once again a recommendation. April 15th is when we recommend that they have their SOAR orientation completed by, okay? And we say that because that is before the fall registration begins, okay? So the fall registration starts for new students on April 28th. If they can get their SOAR orientation done before then, they're right in line with going into the classes. They get first pick of these courses, okay? If they wait longer, right, some of the classes might fill up, they might not match the schedule that they want. So super important on that. Another thing that we recommend, July 1st, fall registration completed by that day. If you do it by July 1st, you're probably in some good classes for you. You're probably in line with some of your financial aid stuff. You've got most of the things you need done so that you can really focus in on starting your semester strong and asking all of those questions, you know, like all of the questions that students have that maybe they've been thinking about. How do I get my books? Where do I go to talk to my teachers? Where is my class at? If you have all of those things done by then, you can figure that part out pretty easy, okay? You can also get a student ID once you're enrolled in the classes and such too, so that's actually really important as well. August 16th, fall fees are due by 4 p.m. Now, something that we didn't put on here, but I want to highlight is that like the week before, usually that's when they'll disperse financial aid. So you'll be seeing, as long as you've followed this timeline, mind you, if you have not, and everybody has, you know, you've submitted things way late, this won't fall in line for you. But if you've done everything on time, then August 16th, by that time, your financial aid would have already been placed on your account the week before because it disperses beforehand, okay? And August 22nd is when the fall classes will begin. In the year of 2022, it's always around that last week or so when school starts for us in the fall semester at TMCC. Anything else to add, Jen?
No, it's perfect. Thank you.
Excellent, great. And this is, Jen's going to be touching on some awesome common stumbling blocks. You guys
Oh,
came to this
man.
with stumbling blocks. So,
You know, this is the part where we really feel like we need to touch on, because when we meet with students, the stumbling blocks is what we are helping with, and very validated. We know that they're asking the questions because they're getting stopped from doing something or other, right? That we're asking them to do. So, some problems start right away with the application. Some students will not put in their legal name, meaning that when they fill out the FAFSA, they put in their legal name, and then it tries to match it up with whatever a name they apply to the college with, and they mismatch.
yeah.
So in turn, this creates a problem, and a hold goes onto their account where it will not allow them to add courses or do anything else before they fix that issue. So some common ones are they have two last names and they only put one on the application for admission. They legally changed their name or didn't legally change it, but that's what their preference is, and they applied with that name. But on the FAFSA, it makes you put in your legal name, basically. So when students are applying, we definitely let them know, please put your full legal name. If you change your name, you're going to have to take that documentation to admissions and records so that they can make that change for you, okay? Another thing is when students apply, they don't know their social security number. So to apply to the college, you don't have to have a social security number, but if you do have it, we like to have it so that, again, we can link your financial aid to your account and make sure they match. Some students either don't put one and their FAFSA never joins to their account. So like, I did FAFSA, but it's not there. It's probably because we don't have your social on file. So we're gonna have to get that at admissions and records, right? Or they guessed and it completely doesn't match. So again, they're gonna have to, have a hold on their account. They're gonna have to fix that issue, okay? Next, they don't select a degree. So they're non-degree seeking. And so when we talk to the students, they might say, well, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just non-degree seeking. That's great. You don't have to know what you want to do, but you do need to be degree seeking for financial aid purposes. So in order to be awarded financial aid, you need to be working towards a degree. Okay, so we have another option. It's called degree seeking, but undecided. So students could definitely do that. However, they can't be non-degree seeking because they will not be awarded financial aid. Some of the students might say, well, I tried to, major in dental hygiene or nursing, and it automatically made me be undeclared. That's true. So then this is why it's a stumbling block, because they wouldn't know that they need to choose like an associate of science, general, so that they can start doing the prerequisites for dental hygiene or nursing. So this is when we definitely want them to reach out and ask those questions. And if we notice it, we definitely correct them right away so that they don't have that problem later on. Another thing is they might have a date of birth mismatch, right, from the FAFSA and, when they apply to the college. So, and that happens, maybe a typo, they put in, the wrong year, the wrong month.
Yeah. I've seen the application date put in there, like what the date is that they're doing, like, oh, it's today's date,
Yeah,
so,
today's date. Yeah. So it makes sense, they're just filling it out and it's like, okay, we're having a good time here. The intention was good. The intention was good. Again, they're going to get frustrated because they're going to get a hold on their account saying, they need you to show them your actual date of birth so that they can change it on their end. And then your accounts will merge and be great. It'll be fine. But on the application for admission, again, we need them to be mindful, take their time. It doesn't take long to fill it out, but there are a lot of fields that they could easily mess up. So basically, we want them to make sure that they're taking their time filling it out. And then if they need help, of course, we're here to help them. Now for admissions, like Amber said, we want them to do things ahead of time because by April, when registration opens, we want them to be ready, already have their test scores on file. However, one thing we see with our students is that, come July or August, they come and register for classes, right? But then they'll say, well, I do have a 3.0 or better and I can qualify for English 101. That's great. We still need your high school transcript and it takes a while to get it to us. We don't know if it's going to take 2 days. We don't know if it's going to take a week, right? So one of the things we let them know is that they need to ensure that they submit their high school transcript as soon as possible. Okay. If they're currently in that English class, they don't have the GPA, but they want to get that B, they need to make sure that when instruction ends at the end of the school year, which is, early June, they get that transcript request submitted. They still have time to submit it by then, but it's the students who wait till like the end of July or August that are, panicking because they don't have anything on file. Okay? Same goes for test scores, right? Same thing. And then SOAR is a whole other issue. So just getting students to do it, right? So we remind them time and time again when SOAR opens. It's a series of modules. There's 7 modules. Each module comes with information and then a little quiz after each module so that we know that they understand the information. Module 7, and so if your students ever ask you, what am I supposed to do with this SOAR survey? Module 7 is important because, yes, it does come with a survey at the very end. And the survey asks them, what classes do you qualify to take for the fall, right? Or what classes do you want to take for the fall? So it will ask them, which classes are you planning to take? They have no idea. But some do, some are like experts are like, okay, I already have 5 classes or 4 classes here. This is what I'm taking. The majority may not know. They don't know. I mean, SOAR does go through and it has them, match their scores to our score rubric to see what class you qualify for. But if they don't go through that step or take it seriously or take the time to do it, they might not know what they want to take towards their career or their major. So they get hung up on that. It's a big stumbling block because if they don't submit that survey, then technically SOAR 1 was never completed.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that you can help with. If they don't know what classes, maybe just add in math, English, the word math, English, submit. It's going to go straight to an academic advisor.
Yep.
And then the academic advisor will reach out via the TMCC email for that student and is going to help them through with suggestions on which courses to take for the fall. Okay.
Definitely.
So I can see why that is confusing or kind of like, what do I do here for students? But they must submit that survey. Otherwise, SOAR 1 was never completed.
For
Okay.
sure.
All right. Another stumbling block, which we have talked a lot through this whole presentation,
Yeah.
FAFSA. They are, I mean, in October, they get inundated with like the FAFSA open and they're like, cool, I'll do it later. And later turns into, hopefully not like May, June, or July, because by then they should have it done. But one of the things is like, who, what, where, why, how, what do I do? What do I do? Right. So they're like, what is the FAFSA? And, who needs to help me fill it out? Where do I fill it out? When? So we do have a lot of help here at the college for these students. So our financial aid office is open every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and they can come in, they can bring their documents, they can come with their parents if they want to, and we have financial aid representatives here to help them go through the entire FAFSA and submit it. Yes. So they have the option to physically come to our financial aid office to get help. And we want them to, because no better than the experts to guide them through the FAFSA. But one thing that we do emphasize with our students is we do take the time to explain it to them because we know how important it is to submit the FAFSA. And it is very confusing and it is a long process, but it is very rewarding. So we let them know, please go through it and take it seriously. But it is a stumbling block because they get to maybe July and August and then realize, oh my gosh, I never did follow up with my FAFSA requirements or submitted in the first place. And we'll talk about holds in just a minute, but the to-do list in just a minute, but it is a long process.
Yeah, I'll give Jenna a bit of a water break.
Thanks.
A lot of stumbling blocks.
Stumbling blocks.
On the stumbling block. One thing that I mentioned earlier, right, was the TMCC login. And that is what I said, like up in the right-hand corner, tmcc.edu, our main webpage, up in the right-hand corner, that'll show student email, Canvas, and your My TMCC, right? These are 3 very important places that students need to go, but it also is super important that they have that username and password from their acceptance letter that they got from us or the acceptance email that they received. Whatever that is, like their username and password becomes really important. We have tons of students who need to reset that. They can call the Welcome Center. Actually, I always have them start off with the Welcome Center because that's just the easiest way to go about it. Like 6737111, very just memorized at this point because, because we have them start there, because if they need to reset something, a lot of times they don't know their student ID number at that point either. So it becomes kind of a thing. If they can just keep that, that's actually super important. But once they log into all of these things, it's all like the same login. Okay. One thing to emphasize on here is the email. Jen mentioned the FAFSA, right? If students are trying to do their FAFSA verification, documents and things, extra submission they have to do, they will communicate with them through the TMCC email and nothing else. And that's actually most departments at TMCC will only use a student's TMCC email. They will not use their personal one. So students need to understand that if they submit things to different departments or they talk to different departments, they cannot use their personal email. Okay. They need to start using the TMCC one. That becomes a really big issue when students don't do that. And they also miss things for their first classes. For instance, an instructor might send, hey, we're not meeting on this Monday. We're meeting next Monday. Please log into Canvas instead. If they didn't read their email, they'd have no clue about what's going on there. So try to emphasize that. The other part is the My TMCC off of that same login. We see, of course, access issues because of the username and password, holds, huge. What Jen mentioned earlier, kind of like the names don't match. Your legal name doesn't match. Your date of birth doesn't match on what you submitted. You'll have a hold on there for sure for your new student orientation. If you don't do your orientation, you can't register for classes. Then there's to-do list items, which are, they won't stop you from registering, but to-do list items, if not completed, are going to maybe be problematic for your FAFSA. They'll have verification documents that are needed to turn in, and you click on each one of those and it gives you a description. And that's the biggest part. Students don't usually click on it. You got to click on each one and then it tells you exactly what you need to submit, where the form is, where to go, what to do. If they are confused, we have all kinds of offices that will help with this. And the last part on here is just the degree declaration. And we mentioned kind of the undeclared issue. There is a degree emphasis change form. I always like to say it's actually kind of difficult sometimes to maneuver through our website. So I just type in Google TMCC degree emphasis change form. That's what I type in, and it takes me right to the documents and forms for admissions and records. You can change your degree on there. Students do this all the time. I always tell students, don't feel intimidated by changing your degree. It's okay. You don't have to feel like it's a thing. I changed my major several times. If I went back now, I'd probably change it more. So you can do that all the time, right? And then the other part is just to note that there are special admit programs, like Jen said, if you're doing dental hygiene, if you're doing vet tech, if you're doing paramedic, if you're doing any of these things, these programs sometimes will put you right into like undeclared or non-degree seeking or whatever it may be. Also, if you're doing something like paramedic, for instance, or you're going into EMS or phlebotomy or things like that, those have special admit requirements. Okay. So that takes you to a whole other website. You have to submit, your background check. You have to submit a drug screening. You need to do your CPR card. That's
very
specific. Yes. And that's a whole other beast. That is a whole other beast. Now, there are departments dedicated to those programs, but if you're having issues, please have your student talk to one of us as your representative at the school, because that can be really frustrating for them. And some of the things are like out of pocket costs right up front. And I know that that can be kind of challenging too. So please have them talk to us about that whole situation. We don't want that to be a block for them to access those programs. And lastly is just Jumpstart. If a student was a Jumpstart student prior to trying to sign up for the next fall semester to be a full-fledged TMCC degree seeking student, there are better times when they should be submitting that application versus when they shouldn't. So once again, have them speak to their representative who's at their school to make sure that they are filling that out properly. Because if you're a Jumpstart student, you're non-degree seeking automatically, and we need you to be degree seeking, right, for the upcoming semester for like the FAFSA, things like that. So just have us like work with them. Also, if students have CTE college credit, if they have any type of, so it's like tech prep kind of credit, that's another thing. So we'll make sure to work with our Jumpstart office who oversees all of that at this point.
Definitely. We have tons of support programs available. I think this is my favorite part because students, will come to us with various, issues or other stumbling blocks, and we pretty much have a program for everything. So I think it's really cool.
And these are covered in depth yeah.
Totally. So academic advisement, of course, we let them know it's kind of like when you have a counselor in the high school level to help you pick your classes, but academic advisement definitely helps you pick the courses, but also makes sure that you're in the correct degree and that you're taking courses towards that degree, and then just making recommendations on how you're taking those courses. So it's really awesome to get that in-depth help with that so that you can graduate in a timeline that fits you the best, whether that's part-time or full-time, whatever it is. Counseling, the counseling center is amazing. If you have test anxiety, if you're going through, anything emotional or mental or whatever it is, honestly, the counseling center is great. They even do career exploration for those students who may not know what they want to study. They know they want to go to college, they don't know for what, so they do career exploration. Tutoring is free, and it has, you can get tutored in pretty much every subject. Yep. And it's free. We love that word, right?
Free.
Students think like, oh, I have to pay for it, or it'll be added to my tuition and fees. No, it won't. It is free, and we have a whole tutoring and learning center for these students to use and to make an appointment for. Financially, we have covered that in depth, and like Amber said, there's a whole other presentation for that. The Disability Resource Center for students who are currently on an IEP or 504, or who want to get an assessment. So if they've never had an IEP or 504 and they feel like, I'm struggling, maybe I need to get get assessed or anything like that, the Disability Resource Center can help them. And a lot of students kind of think there's a stigma attached to the Disability Resource Center. They see disability and they're like, maybe it's not for me, but it could be for anything. I broke my arm this semester. I need other accommodations. I'm pregnant. I need other accommodations. I can't fit in the desk area. Those are real things, right? So
that's real.
Yeah. So the Disability Resource Center is there to help with anything that you might consider that you need accommodations for, or already have accommodations for now. We can see what we can, still do in college for the students. The Career Center, whether you want, information about, you want information about what's out there in the community as far as opportunities, if you need help, writing that resume, whether you have a resume or not, whether you need help beefing it up or creating it in general. The Career Center is a great place to go just to, tips on how, if you're going to have an interview. I need to go there. I haven't interviewed in years and years. So, that would be a good resource. And then we have our Equity, Inclusion, and Sustainability Office, which it's one of the coolest places on campus, in my opinion. It's really cool. It's like the brightest room ever. It's bright orange, right? And it has a literal disco ball, right? So the disco is our Diversity and International Student Center. And so basically students can go there to study, to play games, to play Wii. We have a meditation room. It's an all-inclusive area where students from all walks of life just come and hang out and meet each other. And it's just a cool place to be, really. They have those desks where you can do dry erase markers. So if you're studying and you want to write down on the desk, you can. So it's really cool. And part of the Equity, Inclusion, and Sustainability Office, we have a Students of Color Mentorship Program. That's a great program for some of our students who want to be involved on campus and get extra mentoring. And then we have our Student Government Association. So the students who are currently in leadership at the high schools or anything like that, if they want to take on other roles at the college level, we do have the Student Government Association, or we have clubs that students can be part of. And if they don't see a club that they're interested in, they can also create their own.
Awesome. Yeah, we have tons of support programs, and there's going to be a whole session dedicated to support programs, going in depth about those. And also that's along with the student panel. So if you guys are interested in that, I know that's another one that you can check out with Carlos and Miguel will be running that one. And one of our last things we want to mention, you can visit TMCC physically, and you can also visit us virtually. And so we have these 4 campus listed. We actually do have another campus that I feel like is coming. It's up and coming. So we'll see, we'll see when that comes on board. But for now, we have these 4 campuses: Dandini, the main, Health Sciences over by Galena. And that is definitely more for paramedic side of the house, things like that. Meadowwood campus, we see a lot of adult basic education, community courses there, things like that, and also just some traditional courses as well. And then the Applied Tech Center campus over where I am right now, which has all of our fun classes: welding, diesel, auto, all kinds of stuff like that. I'm a little biased, I think, because I really like this campus. I like the cool things that we do here. So yeah,
all of our campuses are beautiful. They're beautiful, and they're interesting in their own way, right? Like
Yes.
the Bandini one's the OG, the
Oh
original, and
yeah.
so it's huge. And I love your campus, the Applied Technology Center. It's cool to see like automobiles inside the building, huge diesel trucks. Like it's
Yes.
exciting. I love
It's
it.
so true. And the health science one, they have really cool like exploratory lab areas, like where you're
Yes.
actually like simulations and such. And I
Mhm.
like that Meadows is so conveniently located to the mall. It's like right off the bus line. So a lot of times if students need to be transported, using our TC system, it's really cool off the bus line. It's really convenient for them. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
We're on TikTok. We did it. We're on TikTok. So if you have a TikTok and want to join us, you could just scan our code here, and we post regularly, and we try to send out messages for the students, that are easy to follow and just important. We think that they're important. So if you want to see our nonsense, please join us on TikTok. We
Absolutely. And
students
we
have so
have,
much fun with it.
yeah, we have like Facebook pages, we have Instagram pages, we have like just search TMCC and social media in general, like
Yep.
we're plastered all over it. So feel free
Yep.
to look.
At TMCC Nevada. Yep.
Woo. Awesome. So we just want to say thanks for joining us today. In the in-person session, we would say questions, but
Oh, yep.
we'll think
But
you'll have
I
questions.
know, right? What questions do they have? Well, like I mentioned earlier, you can always email us. So it's a J and then Zarco at tmcc.edu, or A right here, A Burroughs at tmcc.edu. So if you do have questions, we would be more than happy to answer them. Just send us a quick email and we'll get back to you.
Definitely. And if you have any general questions, you can always go to recruitment@tmcc.edu. Any general recruitment questions you can send there. Anything you saw in this presentation that you want more information about specific programs, we monitor that every single day. We put it out to different places and we make sure that all your questions get answered. So we hope that this has been some sort of entertainment for you. And if nothing else, did you learn something today? Hopefully, yes.
I hope so.
Well, it's Jen and I, we're signing off, and maybe we'll see some of you guys in person as well. Have a little double dipping. So
Yeah. Have a good one. Thank you.
thank you.